truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. On the dedication page of Swami Kriyananda's book, The Path, appears the following account. A group of Paramahansa Yogananda's disciples had gone with him to see a movie about the life of Gyandev, a great saint of medieval India. Afterwards, they gathered and listened to the master explain certain subtler aspects of that inspiring story. A young man in the group mentioned another film he had seen years earlier in India about the life of Mirabai, a famous woman saint. If I had seen that movie, you wouldn't even have liked this one. The Guru rebuked him. Why make such comparisons? The lives of great saints manifest in various ways. The same one God. The Bible contains a similar account in the Gospel of St. Luke chapter 9. And John said, Master, we saw one casting out devils in thy name, and we forbade him because he followed not with us. And Jesus said unto him, Forbid him not, for he that is not against us is for us. The more central truth, the greater the number of contexts in which it can be applied. Truth is like a pure white light, containing within itself the full spectrum of the rainbow. Let no one tell you what your path to God ought to be. Many are the paths. Select your own according to the dictates of your own nature, no matter how out of step that puts you with other people. Sri Krishna in the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita states, trying even unsuccessfully to fulfill one's own spiritual duty, Dharma, is better than pursuing successfully the duties of others. Better death itself in the pursuance of one's own duties. The pursuance of another's duties is fraught with spiritual danger. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Today, it is an important day for the disciples or the people who feel inspired by because today it's the birthday of Lahiri Mahashaya, a great yoga master. He was called an incarnation of yoga. He used to live in the 19th century. And the great masters incarnate to satisfy a peculiar needs of humanity. Usually they come back to bring back Dharma and to destroy adharma, especially ignorance. And what makes Lahiri Mahashaya so peculiar is that it seems he incarnated with this specific message that anybody could realize his own self. Before him, this possibility of self-realization was more confined in monasteries in Europe, or it was for hermits living in caves in India, for example. And Lahiri, through his living example, showed that it is possible to live with a portable paradise, with a space of happiness in your in our own hearts, a place we can reach always. Even though you're a housewife, a hair cutter, a manager, a minister, any position you might have in society, you can, through certain specific spiritual practices, you can create this space of true happiness within yourself, and you can always be in touch with that paradise. This was the message of Lahiri Mahashaya. And that's why here we don't have, nobody is dressed like a monk or a nun. That's why we are all dressed differently, because we come from different experiences and roles in society. Lahiri Mahashaya wrote in Autobiography of a Yogi, we read in Autobiography of a Yogi, gave a Kriya Yoga initiation. Kriya Yoga is the technique that helps you most to realize this higher self, this inner happiness. So Lahiri gave Kriya Yoga to people from all religions, Catholics, Muslims, or also to people who had no religion, specific religion. And again, here he offered us a message of expansion. We can also say that when he gave an initiation to a person, that person, or better, each person, had a specific, unique Dharma, a unique path and faith to follow. And the beauty of a real master, of a true guru, is that when you look daily, you take time daily to be in touch with your guru, to create these moments of intimacy with the guru, you will see that the guru is there. The guru will help you to feel inwardly who you really are. The guru will awaken in yourself the intimate feelings that will guide you toward the direction to happiness. The more an individual is able to establish this inward contact with God, the more this person, disciple, will be able to live without fear. This is also the meaning of the chant that the choir chanted not long ago. Swami Kriyananda in that chant says, whatever I see around me, the dancing, the dancers dancing around me. So he speaks about the duality of the world. Maybe all my friends betray me. Maybe my love will betray me. Maybe my health will fade away. But when through practice, through perseverance, as Saint Teresa said, when you are deeply trained, then all those things disappearing won't touch you dramatically, and you will be able to live without fear. I'm not saying I'm already there, but sincerely I can say that it is possible to live in that way. So we have a collective Dharma, a group Dharma, where we see that God is for everyone. It means every person can realize the highest potential in themselves. And not only, each person has a unique, specific individual path to reach that self-realization. Let's see what we can do to reach that self-realization. And I simply want to share what works in my life, what works for me. Something that helps a lot is, with awareness, to renounce to the need of controlling others or circumstances. And the passage from the Gospel that Vinaya just read says that in a very clear way. It's very strong. So the disciples are with God and they are angry so because they saw that someone is doing what Jesus used to do. So they go to their master, Jesus, and they complain and they say, we forbid that man to do what you do. And Jesus asks, why did you do that? Let him or her do what they are doing. If he is not against us, he is with us. So you see, there is no need in Jesus, no need to control others. Let's think of these disciples. Why were they worried about that? And this is really interesting. You can measure your self-realization degree in this way. If you really have faith, if you really are in touch with your master, in this case Jesus, for these disciples, if you're authentic, you are not worried about what the others do. In a sense, what these disciples were doing was the same that the Pharisees were doing against Jesus. They tried to control him. Swami said the same more than once. The more you are insecure within yourself, the more you try to control circumstances and people. And on the other hand, the less you try to control people and circumstances, the more you have the possibility and the space, the time to find this beautiful self-confidence and calmness in your heart. Yogananda shared a funny story about his aunt who was complaining, I meditate every day, 4 hours a day, and I have no results. I'm not progressing spiritually. So Yogananda tried to understand more, and he saw how this aunt was meditating. She was in her corner of meditation, but from there she was able to spy out and see if someone needed her in the kitchen, or if the kids were disturbing, or maybe in the kitchen she could smell if they put a wrong ingredient. So she went there, she corrected everything, and she went back to meditation. Then maybe she heard children crying, so she opened the window and yelled to the kids. So when Yogananda told her, well, I verified what she was doing, and I found again confidence in meditation when I saw how she was meditating. So the spiritual path is full of paradoxes. When you have this self-confidence, this inner contact with God, your spiritual power increases a lot. But if you do these practices so as your spiritual power becomes stronger, what happens? That your spiritual power will diminish. The only satisfaction, indestructible satisfaction you can find is this complete let's call it detachment, or better, this mental relaxation and emotional relaxation, as Clarita guided us in the meditation. She asks us to relax not only physically, which is not so difficult to perceive. Yogananda teaches us to use the breath and the tension. When we exhale, we relax. It's very important. The true mental and emotional relaxation increases when you willingly and with perseverance, as Santa Teresa said, when you renounce to the need of controlling others. And very often we have this need of controlling others and circumstances. There is, of course, an anatomy of yoga. The yogis live in the awareness of an energetic body that is not visible to the naked eye. So studying yoga is very important. The chakra linked to this control is called Manipura. It rules the stomach area, and the point of strength, at least in my experience, is in the navel. Lahiri Mahashaya gave a number of exercises to reinforce this chakra. You can find also in Yogananda's affirmation that you can close your eyes and you can visualize light around the navel, and you can do affirmations. And I did this a lot, and I think it's really powerful. I experimented, it's really powerful. If this chakra is committed in controlling others or in asking for approval, then the energy is blocked there. And you can concentrate the spiritual eye as much as you want. The energy won't raise up there because it is blocked in the third chakra. First you have to release the energy there, in the third. To give you the ideal image of total innocence and joy, I remember that to Yogananda someone went once saying, "Master, they told me that your spiritual powers are not as big as another master," he mentioned. And Yogananda said, "Spiritual powers? Ah, interesting. I didn't know I had spiritual powers." The next step to find our own path is in the secret of our heart. All disciplines of the spiritual path aim to calm the heart and to open the heart. And so there, if we speak about a space of inner happiness, Yogananda said often about that, make your heart a hermitage. That is really powerful, because we all are able to do that in any moment. It just takes to withdraw your energy. Sometimes if you work in a crazy office, you can withdraw your energy in a toilet, and that can become your temple. And I remember a director of a school told me, my toilet became a temple for me because I could withdraw in there for 3 minutes and meditate shortly in my heart and then go back in the crowd. And Yogananda spoke also about the sincerity of the heart. He spoke about the magic sincerity of the heart. And that for us means if you establish a real personal relationship with God, Divine Mother, or one of the masters, or all of them, then you're not going to hide anything. You're completely naked in front of them. You make mistakes, it doesn't matter. As soon as you offer up from the heart up to the spiritual eye, your mistakes, your errors, something happens, something gets transformed. In the chant we are going to listen, in short, which is called Walk Like a Man, it is walk with strength, inner power, inner strength. In the third part, Swami says, give life your heart.
Bless everything that's growth.
Bless everything that has grown. Fear not the loving. All this world is your own. So again, opening our hearts and trying to practice this love with courage, because it requires courage to love. When the heart opens, it also gets calmer, and when it gets calmer, you don't even have to wonder, what is my Dharma? Should I move to Ananda? Or should I take more care of my children? Or do I have to accept that direction? You are not wondering this question anymore, because we are so mental, so intellectual. When the heart is open and calm, you will perceive your Dharma immediately. And the third part that will help you to find your Dharma is to try and transform your responsibilities in a service. Life offers each of us responsibilities, maybe children, maybe work, maybe managing a firm. It can be anything. And if you do that not only for God and not only for God, but also with God. And I mean, God, what are we going to do today? Let's work together, little by little. You won't lose time and energy in trying to solve your problems from outwardly. Everything will come out from inward. The right things will happen. Before moving to Ananda for many years, I was a teacher. I used to teach English and also violin. And I was already a disciple on this path, but I also had a lot to find out. And even now I have a lot to find out. But anyway, I knew certain things I always did. For example, very often, before starting a lesson, I try to interiorize, to concentrate at the point between the eyebrows. I try to visualize the group or the person with whom I had to work. And then I entered the classroom. And I always tried to become a channel. I tried. So I always try to transform my work into a service. Something that happens if you do that is that you don't get so tired. somehow you always have a certain flame of enthusiasm that is always lit. And it's very beautiful. When I used to work at school, at the end of the day, working every day with children, you can imagine it was very tiring. But I had a good yardstick to see how I behaved. I was tired, and that was normal. It was something physical. But when I felt also agitated or exhausted, I knew that that day I followed old schemes and not through inspiration. So I wasn't really in touch with God. I was trapped in my old schemes, in my old thoughts and habits. If, on the contrary, I came back home and I was tired, but with enthusiasm, I knew I had done a better job, a better work. When I decided to move to Ananda, it was a very difficult, intense moment of my life. And my life seems to be like that. I got used to it. In that moment, a friend of mine called me and offered a job in New York, in an international school, with a huge wage. Dollars. I don't remember. Anyway, in that moment, and also with other friends, told me, "Oh, you're crazy if you're not going there." I wanted to move to Ananda, but to tell the truth, I had 2 children. And moving to Ananda, I didn't know if I could find a job there. I didn't send a job request to Ananda. I moved here because, with the help of the masters, 3-4 days, I joined the school in Ananda. And then I had a period which was full of challenges, but underneath there was a lot of joy. And I also had many economic challenges. And what was beautiful was that my energy was increasing, also my vital strength. Even though it was so hard and full of challenges, I felt that force, strength within me increasing. It was my Dharma. I felt that. It's bad. It's not nice to live your life with a low flame. Why that? Why doing that? You have maybe about 80 years to live. Try to live at your best. When you transform your work into service, it means also that you open to others, that you develop an ability to listen to others. And the more you're able to get in tune with the reality of others, the more you can live in your Dharma. And your Dharma, you will see, is not in your ego, it will be in your nature. Swami Ananda said, your Dharma is linked to your nature. The ego is not your nature. The ego is just a tiny part of your nature. In other words, to find your Dharma, you have to follow your natural inclinations. And for me, it was a beautiful experience. To summarize, to be able to feel guidance from within, to find your own individual Dharma, try not to be a control freak. So don't try to look for approval of others, not because you're indifferent, not because of that, but because you will develop the strength of going inwardly and be very, very centered in your heart. And that is an exercise, a training. It's a joyful training. The more you do that, the more energy you will find. Yogananda said, make your heart as a hermitage. Maybe you don't have to say everything in front of others to show your mistakes and errors. That's not necessary. Keep your dignity. Dignity is important, and also honor is important on the spiritual path, but try to be naked in front of God and accept your responsibilities as a service, as Lahiri Mahashaya did. He went on working, supporting his family. He taught his wife to read and write. He created a school for girls in his free time. He did an incredible number of things. And the last thing we need to accept is that we might have a certain level of solitude. In English, they say solitude or seclusion. So, in Italian, they call it solitudine, which is a little different. It's linked to suffering. I feel so lonely, loneliness. On the path of yoga, that kind is not loneliness, it's seclusion. It means you take time to feel, to listen what's happening in your heart. And this is what the choir, this is what the chant. You're going to listen to the choir in short. From the choir in short, we'll speak about. Walk like a man, even though you're alone. Maybe you will lose a few friends. When you will find the courage to dedicate your life completely to the inner search, you will find your friends and you will lose some friends. Why should you look for others' approval when you know already in your heart that you're in touch with God? So let those who want come to you, but if everybody goes away, let that happen. In the second part, this chant says, follow your dreams, your deepest dreams. Don't lose yourself in rationalizing. Oh, how can I do that? How can I face that economically? First of all, feel in your heart that is your real dream, and then follow it. Even though Swami Ananda says it takes you to unknown worlds. Later in the ceremony of light, you will listen. Peace will await for you in the unknown. Live here and now. Follow your dream. Otherwise, your life will become just living in shade. Feel what is right for you to do and do it. And the last part of this chant says to give life, your heart, as we said before, to bless everything that grew in your life and not to be afraid of loving. And then it says to fertilize the soil, but once the seeds come out, don't stop there. Leave the old patterns. If you live in the old patterns, love will be chained, stopped. And this is my wish for you. Namaste. Thank you.
walk alone. By Lord's approval, once the road is known, let come who will, but if the altar gone, the ghost still awaits you. Go on alone.
Follow your dream, though it leads towards unknown. Life's but a shadow, once our dreams have known. What if my cry, your dream is not our own? Your soul knows the answer. Go on alone. Give life your heart. Bless everything that's wrong. Fear not the loving. All His words your own. Make rich the soul, but once the seed is sown, seek free